What is a 6x6? What is he talking about? What are these YouTube shorts talking about 6 seconds? Why are all of his lifts 6 seconds? What are these videos talking about 6 seconds? Why 6? Why not 5? Why not 7? Let's get into it. What's up, squad? If you're new to the channel, strap in for some nerdy isometric exercise science. In fact, if you didn't know, we have a whole entire playlist. So go ahead and check our isometric playlist, exercise science playlist. Here's a link right here. Go ahead and check that out. Also, real quick, I wanted to say thank you so much to our NoLimitSquad patrons. All right, we are getting access to that exclusive content, behind the scenes footage, and access to videos before they drop, so you get it before anyone else. Now, let's get into this and let's talk about where the 6 seconds came from. And we can start with this wonderful man, Ivanov Verkhoshansky. Now, I want you guys to look at this graph here. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see strength increase on the left side and time on the bottom, okay? So in the middle are these percentages, and the percentages represent how much effort we're putting into these lifts. Verkhoshansky came to the conclusion that we need to put everything we have into the lifts because we're going to get a lot more out of it. Now, if you go with lesser intensity like 80, 60, or 40%, are you still going to get strength gains? Yes. Are you still going to get size gains? Yes. Much better than if you had not done it at all, of course. But as with anything in life, not even lifting, the more you put into it is the more you get out of it. Simply put, the harder you try during your training, the better your results. Makes sense, right? And most athletes, we pretty much understand that this principle. The different curved lines on the graph represent different intensities of tension. 40%, 60%, 80%, and maximal 100%. Strength increases as a result of those efforts is represented by the vertical axis on the graph. Like I said just earlier, strength increases occur even at 40%, but the higher the degree of tension, the better the strength gain. Maximum tension, pushing or pulling against the handle as hard as possible, gives the best results in strength. Also, look at the time, right? So you have the time being right around 6 seconds before there's a diminishing return. Now, the only time that doesn't happen is if we're kind of, excuse my French, half-assing it and we're going at like 40 to 50%, then you're going to notice that the increase is going to start to go up because we have more in the tank, and that just makes sense as well, okay? Of course, we're going to have more force near the end because we were just playing around. In Dragon Ball Z reference, oh, I was just at 50% of my power. Well, that makes sense now that the display is, you get me? From the optimization of isometric strength training intensity from Coe and Herbert, findings suggest that the optimal intensity for isometric strength training is maximal or near maximal. AKA, how much tension you generate on each repetition is relative to how long you hold that rep. Even if you are using maximum effort, your tension after 15 seconds will be significantly lower than your tension after 3 seconds, which makes sense because no one can infinitely produce force. So here's the holy grail. How long do we hold it for then? What is that magical number? Well, let's look back at the graph. The graph displays the time of the hold used in training, along with the horizontal axis. A quick glance at it, according to the data, maximum strength gains are made with holds lasting approximately 6 seconds. You can see that right in the graph. There is a wide scientific consensus on this. Per Mueller's review, this is the reason why the default time target of the iso chain and the isomax is automatically set to 6 seconds. If you didn't know, now you know. So for optimal strength, we want to hold for 6 seconds. Now, although the 6 seconds remains like the golden standard for these overcoming isometric sessions, shorter repetitions also have value, and I'm talking about anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds. The only thing is we would just need to perform more of them, which makes sense, right? If their effectiveness is supposed to be as good as the 6 second holds. So we would need to perform 6 1-second holds to get the equivalent of 1 6-second holds. It's just, at that point, it's just basic math. Researchers studying that sustained isometric contractions versus brief rhythmic ones discovered that those brief contractions actually develop strength at an extremely high rate. Although many more brief holds had to be performed so that the tension and the force velocity curve added up to equal 1 sustained hold. Researchers also noted that those shorter rhythmic contractions were psychologically easier to perform than sustained hold. So of course it'd be easier to just boom 1 second, boom 1 second, boom 1 second, boom 1 second, versus 1 6-second contraction. So as a general guideline, it's important for motivation and to allow athletes to establish a good pace. Anything over a second produces strength gains. Anything below a second wasn't really worthwhile. So if an athlete is performing sustained holds anyway, they might as well just stick to the superior 6-second rule regardless. So now we're going to go into how many sets should we do. We already understand that we should do 6 seconds, but how many? So if you haven't seen our video on the 6x6, go ahead and check this link out. But let's go into that. Let's look at this graph. So on the left side represents strength increases. On the bottom represents time. This is Ivanov's isometric frequency graph, okay? So it displays with which repetition range gives the best strength results. You guys can see right there, although 1 repetition does yield strength results, more repetitions equal even better results. That makes sense because if we, like, let's take the weight room for example. So 3 sets of 10 is pretty standard across all weightlifting and scenarios and gyms worldwide. We all know 3 sets of 10 is like your beginner and even advanced, but primarily beginner set and rep scheme for optimal growth, right? Strength and hypertrophy, we kind of get like the best of both worlds right in that mixture of sets and reps. So imagine going from 3 sets of 10 to 1 set of 10. Are we still going to get something out of 1 set of 10? Of course. Will we get more out of 3 sets of 10? Of course. We have more volume. It's just more volume. And this actually holds true until we reach about 3 repetitions when the diminishing returns effect sits in. We still have the law of diminishing returns here, guys. So whether it's dynamic or static, we still are going to have law of diminishing returns. But with static, we need to know exactly where it hits. So the lines begin to get closer together. You guys can see that, and peak strength development begins to level off after that 6 repetitions. So if I've ever prescribed someone for 6 sets of 6 seconds, it's almost pointless to do a 7th one, because as long as we were giving it maximal tension, then the 6x6 is really the best bang for buck that we could give our body for this style of training. But that doesn't really mean that everybody should jump into a strength routine requiring a 6x6. If you've never done ISO before, especially OI, it's freaking demanding. I don't recommend doing a 6x6 right off rip. Just like Paul Wade's isometric manual, I would highly recommend timed mode with just 1 repetition. After a week of training and getting used to it, we can start to increase those repetitions. Once they're comfortable, you can start to go into 6x6. That is a total of 36 seconds of maximal time under tension, maximal load. This is 36 seconds, doesn't seem like much, but practitioners of the isotrain and isomax, if you've been using it since 2020 when this device came out, and you know what this feels like, go ahead and let's educate the new guys on the squad. And I want you to comment what your experience was and how it felt. And I know that you were sweating. Just go ahead and let them know this is the real deal. The rest time in between each rep of 6 seconds is 20 seconds. The turnaround time for recovery for this style of training method is very quick. I have a video on that as well, talking about how long should we take to recover. Here is a link right here. Go ahead and check that out. Some of my older videos, they don't look as polished, but the information is just as top-notch a couple years ago as it is today. All right, guys, so there is the answer. This is why it's 6 seconds. This is why it's 6 sets. What are your thoughts? Go ahead and comment down below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like. And if you're not yet part of the squad, hit that subscribe button. Come join the squad with us. See you next video. Peace.